It is the year 320 AD. 40 soldiers stand naked on a frozen lake. Their crime? Refusing to deny Christ. By morning, history will remember them not as deserters, but as martyrs. Welcome back to the Quiet Catechist, where history and theology meet. Night has fallen over the city of Sebaste, in what is now modern-day Turkey. The wind is sharp, the lake is frozen solid, and standing on that ice are 40 men, Roman soldiers, stripped naked, exposed to the cold, and slowly freezing to death. Not because they rebelled, not because they deserted, but because they refused to deny Christ. These men were members of the famed 12th Roman Legion, hardened soldiers who had served Rome faithfully. They were not priests or monks. They were not bishops or theologians. They were ordinary men with rank, pay, and futures. You see, under Emperor Licinius, persecutions had returned to the Eastern Empire. After initially tolerating Christians during a shaky alliance with Constantine, Licinius began to fear that the growing influence of Christians threatened his authority. He issued strict orders across the army. Every soldier must offer sacrifice to the pagan gods as a public sign of loyalty to Rome. Refusal was considered insubordination, punishable by imprisonment, torture, or death. For Christian soldiers, obedience to this decree meant betraying their faith. To stand firm was not just dangerous, it was a challenge to the emperor himself, a risk that could cost everything: rank, family, even life. 40 men from the 12th Legion refused. They were arrested, brought to trial. Promises to them were made to convince them to perform the sacrifice. Increase in rank, honor, wealth, all refused. Threats followed: torture, disgrace, death. They were beaten and left hungry in prison. None of that worked. So their commander chose a punishment designed not merely to kill, but to break them and give them a choice. They were taken outside of the city in the dead of winter and placed naked upon a frozen lake. On the shore nearby, the guards erected a bathhouse, warm and inviting. The message was clear: you may leave the ice at any moment, but you only need to deny Christ and perform a sacrifice. As the night wore on, the soldiers began to pray. Ancient sources tell us that they sang psalms together, encouraging one another in the darkness, and their prayer rose again and again from the ice, praying, "Lord, 40 entered this contest. Let 40 receive the crown." As the hours passed, one of the soldiers could bear it no longer. Shaking, delirious, his body numb and breaking, he stumbled from the ice toward the bathhouse, toward steam, towards warmth and life. The ancient preachers tells us that the moment he crossed the threshold, he fell dead, as though heaven itself bore witness to the cost of abandoning the crown. And modern medicine gives us a sobering explanation. After hours of brutal cold, his body would have been in advanced hypothermia, blood vessels constricted, heart rhythm fragile. The sudden rush from freezing air into warmth would have caused rapid vasodilation, a violent shift in blood flow. His blood pressure would have collapsed. His heart would have gone into fatal arrhythmia. Then would have been immediate death. Just steps from comfort, his body failed. The number was broken. 39 remained. Watching all of this was one guard assigned to oversee the execution. A pagan, a Roman, an outsider to the faith. But as he watched the soldiers praying on the ice, he saw something no one else could see: a divine light and crowns descending from heaven upon the men, 40 of them, and one of the crowns was empty. Then, in a moment that history would never forget, the guard threw off his armor, declared to his fellow guards, "I am now Christian," and ran onto the frozen lake. The number 40 was restored. 40 entered the contest, and 40 would receive a crown. By morning, the surviving soldiers were dragged from the ice. Their legs were shattered and beaten by the guards to hasten death. Their bodies were burned, and their ashes scattered into the river. Rome's final attempt to erase their memory, it failed. Almost immediately, the church remembered them. St. Basil the Great preached sermons in their honor, calling them athletes of Christ. St. Gregory of Nyssa reflected on their unity, that they suffered not as individuals, but as one body. The church did not remember them by name alone. She remembered them as the 40. And here is where the theology quietly emerges. The 40 martyrs teach us that faith is not merely personal, it is communal. They endured because they endured together. When one fell, another rose to take his place. The crown was not abandoned. They also show us something uncomfortable, that apostasy is real. One man stepped off the ice. But Scripture never hides that truth. But neither does it hide redemption. The guard who joined them reminds us that the church is always one confession away from being enlarged. Most of us will never stand naked on frozen lakes. We will never be asked to offer incense to pagan gods. But the bathhouse is still there. Comfort, approval, silence instead of witness. The temptation to step off the ice has never gone away. The 40 martyrs did not die to make a point. They died because truth was worth more than warmth, because fidelity mattered more than survival, and their frozen lake became a pulpit that has preached for 17 centuries. This has been the Quiet Catechist, where history and theology meet. Until next time, keep the faith and keep learning.